morning.
This is Joseph Botash. I'd like to call to order the September 3rd, 2024 Wrentham Select Board meeting. In accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this public meeting of the Select Board shall be conducted via Zoom. The agenda posted on the town's website identifies how the public may join. Please note, this meeting is being recorded. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Select Board Member Anderson.
Anderson present.
Select Board Member Gallo.
Gallo here.
Select Board Member Harrington.
Harrington here.
And Select Board Member Rouse.
Rouse here.
Staff, when I call your name, please confirm in the respond to the affirmative. Town Manager Kevin Sweet.
Present.
Assistant Town Administrator Greg Enos.
Present.
And Executive Assistant Amanda Vazzapolo.
Present.
All right. We also have with us Superintendent of Wrentham Elementary Schools, Dr. Alan Cameron. We have our Fire Chief, Antonio Marino. And we also have our DPW Director, Brian Antonellis, with us. So let's jump into the meeting real quick. Let's go over to tab 1 and I'll ask our clerk to read the announcements.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Announcements for the September 9-3 Wrentham Day and Wrentham Road Race will be on Saturday, September 7th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the town common. Enjoy a fun-filled day of music, entertainment, food, and activities. The Metacomic Public Health Alliance nurses will be offering a flu clinic for Wrentham town residents older than 18 on Tuesday, September 10th from 10:30 to 12:30 and from 1:30 to 4 p.m. at the Wrentham Senior Center. Registration available on the town website. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right, thank you. Let's jump into this real quick. We're going to move around a little bit. We're going to go over to tab 2. And at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the open session meeting minutes of the August 13, 2024 Select Board meeting.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Mr. Chair.
So, yes,
Yeah, just for clarification. Now, on those minutes, it appears as though you were absent, but I'm pretty sure you were at that meeting.
I was there.
Yeah. But under the board meeting minutes, it
Yes.
said you were absent.
I didn't leave an impression on Amanda that day, I guess.
I think you were so efficient, Mr. Chair, that she might have thought that you weren't at the meeting.
She couldn't hear me.
Yeah.
So at this
Sitting
time, the chair entertain a motion to approve the August 13th open session meeting minutes with the correction that Chairman Joseph Botash was present.
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion made by Selectman Anderson, seconded by Select Board Member Gallo. We'll do a roll call vote. Select Board Member Anderson.
Anderson, yes, with the correction.
Select Board Member Botash, yes with correction. Select Board Member Gallo.
Gallo, yes, with the correction.
Select Board Member Harrington.
Harrington, yes, with the corrections.
And Select Board Member Rouse.
Rouse, yes, with correction.
All right. We're going to jump over to tab 4. We have Dr. Cameron with us, and he is going to fill us in on opening day at Wrentham Elementary School. Welcome, Dr. Cameron.
Thank you, Chair Botash. It's good to see everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today and share an update with you on the start of school this year for us. So we started the 2024-2025 school year on Monday, August 26th. The first 2 days, we welcome staff back for professional development and training and to get ready for the school year. We have 21 new staff members who are replacing people who left us at the end of last year. On the first day, we had a lot of professional development for staff, largely around the new core English language arts program called My View, My Perspective. Thanks to town meeting and to all of you for your support of that program purchase. And we also had some time for safety training. Big thanks to Sergeant Dan Morris and Cruiser. They are instrumental in our safety training. And then we provided time for staff members to prepare classrooms and get ready for the upcoming year. That was on the 26th. On the 27th, we welcomed students and their families to the annual meet and greet. This is an opportunity for students to come in with their families, meet their teacher and classmates, see the classroom prior to the start of school. It's something unique to Wrentham. We've been doing it now for 11 years, and I think it's a really special event. A lot of students who might be feeling anxious about the start of school and their parents who might also be feeling anxious about the start of school have that opportunity to try it out before the first day. And it's always a really high energy, exciting time for us. And that was wonderful. Another high energy experience we have is kindergarten orientation and a bus ride. We have all the kindergartners come in and get a overview of the expectations on the bus. And then we take a quick bus ride around the common, which is, I'm one of the chaperones on that trip. It's always a lot of fun. And then we did basically a lot of state mandated training. The state requires quite a bit of annual training for staff. So we went through a series of reviews on federal and state laws relating to ethics, conflict of interest, special education law, confidentiality, civil rights, Title IX, disabilities, and a variety of health-related issues. So really full schedule, but it allowed us the 2 days to get ready for the big day, which was Wednesday, August 28th, when we welcomed the students back to school. We have 601 students at Delaney, 356 students at Roderick, so a total of 957 students. And everyone came in feeling good, ready for an exciting year, and it was great to see all of them here. We've been at it for just about a week, and overall, it's been an outstanding start. The students seem happy and excited. My colleagues and I are ready to help make it this year amazing. And I'm honored to be the superintendent of Wrentham Public Schools. I appreciate all of your support and working in this great town. And thank you for letting me come in today and talk about all the exciting things that are happening. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Dr. Cameron. As always, the only thing I ask is that these kids have a great experience and a lot of fun this year.
Yes, sir. They will. I tell all the kids, I tell them all, I have 3 jobs, 3 responsibilities as superintendent. I have to make sure that all of the kids and all of the adults at Delaney and Roderick stay safe, learn a lot, and have fun. So we'll endeavor to pursue those objectives this year as we have in the past.
Excellent. Select Board Member Anderson, any questions for Dr. Cameron?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So Dr. Cameron, first of all, it's so good to see you, my friend.
You too. You too.
I really appreciate your leadership at that school.
Thank you.
And, my wish is that you have a great school year. If there's anything I can do personally, or if the board can do to assist you, please feel free to reach out to us. We love our schools, and we love you leading the way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I hope to see you at the softball game, the WPD versus WPS game in a couple of weeks.
Well, if they're willing to take me, I'm willing to put the old legs out there and pitch again.
Just don't let him pitch.
I have to. He's the only one who he makes sure I don't strike out. So I need him there to pitch. Otherwise, it's shaky proposition when I'm at bat.
Right. Select Board Member Gallo.
Well said, Eagle Eye, Select Board Member Anderson. Dr. Cameron, it's always great to see you.
You too.
I love your job. Keep kids safe, help them have fun, and help them learn.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what it's all about. Have a great school season, and let us know how we can assist.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Select Board Member Harrington.
There's nothing else I can add that hasn't been added by my fellow select board members. Thank you, Dr. Cameron. You do a wonderful job. We appreciate all you do,
Thanks, sir.
and look forward to assisting you in anything you need. Have a great school year.
Thank you. Will do.
Select Board Member Rouse.
Ditto, ditto, ditto. Thank you, Dr. Cameron, for your leadership. I do have one very important question.
I'm
What
ready.
is the date of the Wrentham PD and WPS softball game?
That's a great question. That is on Thursday, September 26th at 6 p.m. on Sweatfield.
I thought it was Fredway Park.
Well, you know, they bumped us. Terrible.
All right. Well, we thank you. And, you know, we really enjoy the experience you give our youth,
Thank you.
and we appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate all your support. Thank you very much. And look forward to seeing you all throughout the year.
All right.
Take care.
Real quick, let's jump over to tab 6, because I think, Kevin, this is the same thing we approved in June, correct? Nothing
Yes,
has
Mr.
changed.
Chair, same event. This came in a little bit late, a little unexpected, you know, which we've have expressed some of that concern back to the applicant, but the event has been well supported. The department heads, you know, have had fairly positive interactions with this vendor in performance, and I think other than our concerns around some of the delay, which we've expressed back with them, and you know, being able to make it work, to be able to make sure that we can work with them in future event planning to make sure that they're cognizant and to try to plan these out well in advance. But we absolutely, it's been a great partnership, you know, working with the folks there, and no other real concerns other than what we have listed on the cover sheet there as far as the event itself, with regards to public safety and other folks that have weighed in.
Select Board Member Anderson, any questions on this application?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Select Board Member Gallo.
No questions. I was at this event with my family last year. It was a classy event, done well. So I hope to go again, and I hope it's the same result. Thank you.
Select Board Member Harrington.
No, nothing on the event, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to thank the town for reinstituting the check sheet. Kevin and Amanda, you know, it really makes makes it a lot easier for me anyway to make sure everything's been checked, and I appreciate that.
And Select Board Member Rouse.
No further questions, just one comment, like I had suggested with White Barn with all of their events. If the vendor is aware that they will be doing multiple events during the year, I would like to recommend that it is presented as one with the multiple dates so that we don't have to do this approval each time.
Made a note of that.
Thank you.
Is there a date requirement? Should the application be in 30 days before? Because that's never been expressed to us. Maybe it was expressed to, you know, the property owner. I want to make notes so that, because we do come back with different shows every year, so that we know, you know, what is acceptable. It's like, is there a 30-day mark or a 60-day mark that we should have our application in?
Yeah, there are, because this process, and we've had a number of discussions. I know not directly with you, but the management at Simon, to understand that this particular location is outside of their planning board approval on the type of function. So this actually requires a pre-review by the zoning enforcement officer, building commissioner, to review, which then triggers sort of the next step. So I think, Amanda, what did we actually stipulate with them? Was it a 60 or 90-day review?
It was 60.
60? Yeah, so it's 60 days because of that that process. This is obviously, I mean, this is a pretty extensive event. This isn't a pop-up tent. You know, you're talking 300 to 400 attendees, and it's a little bit more complex. And again, you know, we want to partner with Simon. We want to make sure that their property is successful, and by thinking outside the box with some of these events that fit the community and that have been successful, we want to continue to do, but we want to make sure that the staff and appropriate public safety officials and the like have the opportunity to be able to review and be able to, work with the vendor. So this particular event is a 60-day. And again, a big part of that is the pre-review before it gets to the ultimate review and department head review by the zoning enforcement officer. So we have laid this out, as I said, with Simon, with property management, and they're aware of what the requirements are as well.
Okay,
Right. So I'm gonna ask for a little bit of help on this. As you can see, I'm trying to save my voice for the Christmas pageant. So I'm gonna ask my vice chair to read the motion. So the chair entertain a motion to,
Yeah, no problem, Mr. Chair, my pleasure. Vice Chair would entertain a motion to approve the special event application for Cirque Entertainment for events scheduled to be held September 26, 2024 to September 29, 2024 at the Wrentham Village Premium Outlets, 1 Premium Outlets Boulevard under the following conditions. Event times will start no earlier than 4 p.m. and end no later than 11 p.m. Applicant shall coordinate all food related permits with the Board of Health. Applicant shall schedule 2 police details with the police department. Applicant shall schedule, coordinate with fire department, a pumper, fire engine staff, or 2 firefighter/EMTs during operating hours of the shows. And any applicable use of storage permits must be submitted a minimum of 30 days in advance for review. Applicant shall coordinate water access with the Department of Public Works. Applicant shall coordinate temporary tent permits with Department of Inspections. Applicant shall notify direct abutters of event dates and to authorize the use of electronic signatures.
thank you. So we have a motion. Is it moved?
So
So
moved.
moved.
I'm gonna give that one to Select Board Member Rouse. I heard her first and seconded by Select Board Member Anderson. We'll do a roll call vote. Select Board Member Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Select Board Member Botash, yes. Select Board Member Gallo,
Gallo, yes.
Select Board Member Harrington,
Harrington, yes.
and Select Board Member Rouse.
Rouse, yes.
That passed 5-0. Is Kathleen Bellaccini with us? She has an application for the Cultural Council. All right, we're gonna move on to that one. I don't see her. If she comes on later, we'll talk about it. All right. I know Chief Marino is gonna be quick, so let's go over to tab 8 to talk about the September 11th remembrance. Chief Marino.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions. I submitted the 9/11 ceremony that we usually present annually. We try not to, obviously it's in the middle of the workday this year. And so we try to commemorate this every year, so we never forget. We typically place the wreath at 8:30 in the morning in front of the monument. Right in front of Town Hall. We staff the monument from 8:35 to approximately 10:30, 10:31, and we have a list of events that's in your agenda. It's kind of it's open to the public. There's no speaking. There's no real guest speakers. As you see chronologically, we ring the bell 6 times during the events at 8:46, 9:03, 9:37, 9:59, 10:03, and 10:28, commemorating those significant events of that day. It's a little bit out of step with what the minimum state recommends for the fire service. We participate kind of like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. We just feel as though that we should staff it for those few hours in the morning and keep that tradition going. So that's what we'll be doing. Anyone have any questions or suggestions?
Any questions for the chief?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. I'll go
Chief,
after.
go ahead. Jim, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, not a question, just a comment. Chief, I appreciate you guys doing this so that we do never forget. And I hope to be there that morning.
Select Board Member Gallo.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Chief, thank you for doing this. As you know, I think I've shared with you this day has a very important place in my heart. And it's very emotional day for all of us. I think the timeline of events is great. I have had people from the public reach out to me asking if there's kind of like like what time should I come if we wanted to come by. So I kind of and let me just say this, I actually reached out to a few of people that I know in the community saying, geez, it'd be nice to get more community attendance at this because it's such an important part of our history and something that we should never forget. The only suggestion that I've heard from people is that 100% staff it from 8:30 to 10:30, but people were saying that if there was a short little kind of intro in the beginning and you made, some just quick remarks that people could somehow just pay their respects on their way to work, even if it was a 5-minute whatever, and then carry on with the rest of the, tradition as you have laid out here. That was the only suggestion that I heard. Other than that, people really appreciate this. I appreciate it, and I'd like to see the community more involved and attending this event.
Yes, obviously, this is the town's monument. And so at 8:30, the placement of the wreath, we typically leave that open for town officials. So if town officials wanted to have some kind of a brief moment to have the wreath placed at the monument, say a few words, and then we would just stand watch, so to speak, immediately after that. That's why we assemble after that. So this has been something we've been doing, for the last probably 4 years, 5 years. The first year was on Wrentham Day, so obviously there was a lot more attendances on the weekend. We decided, our staff wanted to do this every year. Not always going to have 10 or 15 people. We're always going to have at least one firefighter and an officer standing watch over the memorial for that period, and hopefully the tradition continues. But again, that time spot from 8:30 to 8:35 is certainly something that I would welcome or even encourage the town leadership to take that moment, place the wreath, and say a few words for the community, and then we'll be there the rest of the day.
Sounds great. Thank you, Chief.
Any other questions for the chief?
Nothing, Mr. Chair. Just thank you, Chief. Appreciate the hard work that you put in, and this is a very, very moving ceremony.
And I want to thank you for keeping the tradition alive. As you know, that was an Eagle Scout project that I helped Eagle Scout New Becca with. It was very personal to get that set up there. And I am glad that the DPW maintains the grounds around it and that our public safety people still use it as a meeting place to remember. So it's a great thing. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Brian, I'm going to give you the floor next.
All right.
Tab 7. Looks like you want to put some speed bumps in.
Yeah. 3 speed tables is what they actually call them on Hawes Street. The residents have been asking for quite some time to do something to calm the traffic on Hawes Street. And they've been asking for speed bumps. Speed bumps weren't really something I was going to do because my plows won't go over them. But speed tables are wider and not as tall, and we can get over them with our plows. Foxborough has them, and they have no problem getting over it with the same type of plow that we have. So that's the way I decided to go.
All right. Any questions for our DPW Superintendent, Select Board Member Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Brian, I appreciate you looking into that. Just a quick question, like, would you remove them in the wintertime?
No, I looked into doing removable ones. They have a rubber composite. Medway uses them. They remove them for the winter time. I went over, looked at those, actually watched them install them, and it doesn't make sense to me to do. They only have one, so they go in, they put the one in, one out. I'm gonna have three. It would take my guys days. It would take them at least a week, the initial time, to drill all the holes. Then the holes over the winter time get full of snow, salt, and your road starts to deteriorate faster that way. As we all know, deteriorating roads, I have plenty of in this town. I don't need to make it worse. So I looked at several different types of asphalt as well, speed humps, speed bumps, speed tables. And like I say, I think this will be the best to make everybody happy. It should slow traffic down. We can still work around it in terms of plowing. It'll be almost the full width of the road. There'll be a little bit left on each side for drainage purposes. I think it's, like I said, I think it's the best bang for our buck.
Okay, one more quick question. Did we do a traffic study down there? Do we know if there was actually a problem, an issue?
Yeah, the Boston MPO did a traffic study for us. The complaints over the years have been heavy truck use, speeding. So MPO did do a traffic study. They didn't find a truck issue. I think it was like right around 1% was trucks. I believe 2% is what they consider a heavy truck use. So, but they did find a lot of car traffic, a lot of speeding. I went up there at least twice, sat in people's driveways for half an hour to see what, before we did the traffic study, to see what was going on. And it's constant. It seems to be a lot of constant Rhode Island traffic. It seems to be right around the time developmental center shift changes happen, morning and afternoon. And they do speed. And there are, maybe it has been down Hollis Street knows, there are some really bad blind corners on that road. And it's not that wide a road. So yeah. It's a legitimate concern.
Yeah. It's a very narrow and windy road. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Select Board Member Gallo.
Yeah, just two questions, comments. First, I'm sure this has already been discussed, but there's no issues with EMS, police, fire, getting engines or getting police cars or, over those things, correct?
There shouldn't be. Foxborough, like I say, where Foxborough has it, it's you pull out of their fire station, take a left, and you're going over the thing.
Okay. The second thing is,
Mr. Chair, if I could just jump on that, there is a defined difference between a speed hump and a speed table. And one of the things that more communities are going towards is the speed table because of that wider base that Brian had indicated that's actually the preferred for vehicles to be able to go over like that. So you don't have that drastic rounded hump. That's why the table. So from emergency vehicle response, it's a much preferred method as opposed to the standard hump. And they are commonly over several main roads. Westwood is probably the most in our area that puts them out on a lot of heavy traverse roads. Yeah, just wanted to offer that.
And through you, Mr. Chair, I'll continue what I was going to say. Thank you, Kevin, for that. And thank you, Brian. I have been involved directly with the residents, a few of the residents down there. So I can attest to the fact that, planning board meetings, there's been a lot of discussion about this and the residents have been complaining a lot about it. So I hope this does help and I hope this, satisfies them to some degree. Obviously, I will say it sounds like we put a lot of time and research into this. I just want to make it known that that is the case because we don't want to have everyone else in Wrentham start requesting speed tables. Can you put one on Summer Street? I think the traffic is a little too fast going down Summer Street. So I just want to be cognizant of that.
Agree. Yeah, that was a concern of mine as well. I was initially not in favor of any kind of speed bump, speed table. And I still would not have been in favor of a speed bump or even a hump for that matter because of the pitch. But the speed table, I think, is a nice. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't want this to become something where every road gets them because it's not for every road.
Okay. Thank you.
Select Board Member Harrington,
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Select Board Member Rouse,
I had the same question that Select Board Member Gallo had regarding other requests coming in and to emphasize the research and the information that was gathered to make this decision. So thank you for that information, Brian.
Right. At this time, the chair entertain a motion to approve the installation of speed tables and and signs as presented on Hawes Street.
So moved.
Second,
Motion made by Select Board Member Anderson, seconded by Select Board Member Gallo. We'll do a roll call vote. Select Board Member Anderson,
Anderson's a yes.
Select Board Member Botash, yes. Select Board Member Gallo,
Gallo, yes.
Select Board Member Harrington,
Harrington, yes.
and Select Board Member Rouse.
Rouse, yes.
All right, that passed 5-0.
Mr. Chair, before we move on, if I could just interrupt, I feel like there might be a resident or two on this meeting with regards to old business. That, just for the record, is going to be tabled until a follow-up meeting, most likely our meeting on September 17th. The animal control officer just had an opportunity to meet with, I think, the dog today, and there was some other scheduling issues, and I know the attorney wasn't available or on here as well. So I just didn't want anybody hanging around if they're on there for the old business discussion, just to share that. We won't be taking any action or discussion on that this evening.
Thank you. And I also noticed that we have Don Dooley from the Wrentham Premier Outlets with us. Don, welcome. We've actually already approved the event and moved on.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's go over to tab 9. Wrentham Day. This year, Wrentham Day is not going to be the same. I'm not DJing, so it's going to be a little lackluster, but that's all right. We'll get through it. Did we reserve a spot?
So, yeah, Mr. Chair, this was for kind of discussion purposes. We do have a spot. We have a spot reserved. We don't have we've been talking about whether for this year, if the select board wants to have a table, or just kind of have more of a physical presence around, walking around, something like that. I don't know. In prior years, we've had sort of big project updates. As you know, we provided the plans for the Senate School lot, took some comments. So I just kind of wanted to gauge for this year if we think that's needed, or would just prefer to have a presence within the community, within the event itself. This was for discussion purposes, so wanted to bounce that around. One idea, and we did meet with our new veteran service officer this morning, and he's offered, if there was interest, that he could also set up a table in kind of either share or in place of, and could get an opportunity to meet folks in town. He's the new VSO, and be able to Scott Smith, to be able to provide some information and handouts that he might have. But certainly, whatever the will of the board is with regards to kind of having a presence. And this year, I don't know that there's a need specifically for a table unless there's something that the board wants to share.
But what about Sweat Park? Do we have any renderings or anything that we can share on Sweat Park?
We do. They're pretty. They're not really concepts. They're hard. They're not really true renderings. It's there's a obviously there's the detail and cut sheets and very engineered type of stuff, which some folks could probably interpret. Others doesn't mean a whole lot. It's very much high level engineering, low level engineering stuff, in the sense of we don't have any visual concepts that kind of bring it together, if that makes sense.
What about the DPW?
I would say the same. It's very early in that, because we're just getting ready to work towards a contracting with the OPM. But once we get into the design phase and we're working with an architect, we'll be in a much better place to have renderings and things like that as to what direction we're going in.
I'm open to anything, but I was thinking those are some
Those are what we talked about as well, internally, that those were the two things that kind of made sense, but, wanted to talk it through with the board and see what they think.
All right, Select Board Member Anderson, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So on this coming Saturday, I have a commitment at 10 o'clock in the morning and also have a commitment at 1 o'clock. So my plan is I'll be there walking around in between, but I can't commit to manning a table.
Select Board Member Gallo.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually gonna be there from 8:30 to 10:30. Anyway, I gotta do a little bit of help with the Lions Club table, so I'll definitely be there from 8:30 to 10:30. I mean, I'm with you, Joe. I could see it both ways, right? We do have some interesting things coming down the pike. Sweat Park. We have the DPW facility. We do have important votes coming on. MBTA communities. Not that we want to get into that potentially at Wrentham Day, but there are important events coming up that we may want to just notify the public. But I also can see the other side that, as town leadership, it might be equally beneficial, if not more beneficial, for us to be mingling, walking around the tables, just saying hello to people and whatnot. So I guess I too am open to the will of the board.
Select Board Member Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So personally, I'll be in and about with the Lions and the Knights of Columbus, and for the select board. I don't think we really have, we have some important projects coming, but we don't have any architectural plans, any artist renditions. We have nothing that I think that we're ready to show the town that, this is what we're going to be doing or looking for money for. So personally, I think that, this year is a nice opportunity just to meet with the people, answer questions that they might have, and kind of keep it low key, especially where we won't have you to have background music for us.
You got Jeff Hall doing it. Thought the same though. Select Board Member Rouse.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I had a prior commitment that will have me out of town this weekend, so I will not be in attendance. But I would echo, I think walking around and meeting, greeting, talking to folks would be effective. I would not want to have a table without really solid, concrete information that can be presented with explicit details. The more you put out there, the more questions you're going to have. And if we can't answer them and it's too preliminary, I don't think it's going to be worthwhile for residents.
So I'm going to put on my shirt that says I'm Select Board Member Gallo. Ask me any questions. And I guess we'll bingo.
Sure, you have a bulletproof vest on.
So we're all set.
We'll offer the VSO an opportunity, at least to give an opportunity to have some conversations in the community, and be able to offer some materials, and we'll offer that to him. He did agree to that this morning, when Greg and I met with him, and he actually had offered if we had anything coming up, and we actually said, this Saturday we have Wrentham Day. So, well, I think for this year, I agree with the sentiments of the board. I think that makes sense, and not having the information and the renderings, it's a tough conversation. And for those that are listening and watching, perhaps later, we all of this information is also on our town website. So anything, where any staff is obviously available to answer your specific questions, talk through anything. But all of those projects that have been referenced have pretty detailed project pages on the town website. And I think you can get a lot of the same information that we would be providing on the town website as well. And can certainly reach out to staff if you have specific questions. So, okay, thank you for that.
All right. Let's jump over to tab 11. But we have to make some changes to our fall schedule. Has everyone had a chance to review the fall schedule that's the current and the proposed?
Mr. Chair, I could talk through some of this just so the board understands kind of what the direction is here. I have confirmed with both our town clerk as well as our town moderator that these dates being proposed are suitable. They work. There's a couple of caveats this year. As you know, we're facing a national election that's coming up on early November, creates issues with kind of the November 11th, being Veterans Day on a Monday, just trying to kind of make it work. The other caveat to this is that we feel that the complexity behind the MBTA communities, as well as some of the ongoing likelihood of the discussions we've been having for 2 years around siting a new well out in the west end of town, is those two items are going to be so big of conversation and important for the community that it warrants having a separate meeting for. The thought was we'll have our annual fall town meeting a little bit earlier. It gives enough buffer around the election to be able to handle that. And that's really to deal with our annual, for the most part, our annual, mostly financial type of things and the like. And it takes the focus up, that needs to happen on those annual things that are somewhat cyclical. And we can have and spend the time that's going to be needed to have those real conversations being proposed in December around the MBTA communities and the likelihood potentially of the purchase of land for the siting of a well. That's still progressing, but it's looking very positive. And I think both of those are important enough that we need to have a separate meeting for. I think it's, there's going to be a lot of discussion and conversation. The other component to that is it gives us a little bit of time as we talk specifics about the MBTA communities. One, as we all know, there's some kind of things that are happening around the Commonwealth, particularly in Milton. Gives us a little bit of time for that to possibly play out a little bit more. And it also gives us time to be able to put together a plan, working with the planning board, ultimately the planning board to propose, to be able to get that a little bit more solidified, and having that time frame, pushing it out into December will allow that to happen a little bit more, so it's not rushed, if that makes sense. So that's really the premise behind what's driving this. And I know I have had a couple of side conversations, specifically I know with Joe and on this and as to the rationale, but I just want to make sure the entire board understood this. And I think this also, just as an aside, getting into November creates a little bit complications if we go late November around the tax rate hearing, which is another key component. And I know this board, we've talked about trying to have a little bit of that review a little bit earlier. And if we don't have town meeting earlier, that makes it a lot more difficult to have that tax rate discussion earlier and be able to drive that. So that's sort of the third kind of component as to what's driving this schedule as well.
I've had a chance to review it, and I have no problem with it. Select Board Member Anderson.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, no issues on my end either.
All right. Select Board Member Gallo.
No issues, makes sense.
Select Board Member Harrington.
No issues, Mr. Chair.
And Select Board Member Rouse.
No issues. Glad to see that that's going to be separated and given the time necessary for discussion. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a procedural thing to open the warrant on September 4th and close it on October 1st for a town meeting, which will be October 21st. So at this time, Chair will take a motion to vote to open the warrant for the October 21st fall town meeting on September 4th and close it on October 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Motion made by Selectman Harrington, seconded by Select Board Member Anderson. Any further discussion? Being none, we'll do a roll call vote. Select Board Member Anderson.
Anderson, yes.
Select Board Member Botash, yes. Select Board Member Gallo.
Hello, yes.
Select Board Member Harrington.
Harrington, yes.
And Select Board Member Rouse.
Rouse, yes.
That passes 5-0. Let's go over to tab 10, MBTA communities.
Mr. Chair, I could start the discussion. I don't have a lot of updates other than what's been shared with the board with regards to the Milton brief. I'm not sure, I know there's a lot to digest there, but just kind of a summary recap on essentially the town of Milton's filing in response to the lawsuit that was brought by the Attorney General's office, the Attorney General herself, involving the MBTA Communities Act in the town of Milton. Essentially the stipulation or statement is that the AG's authority does not have the legal authority to enforce the MBTA Communities Act through lawsuits. The only consequence for non-compliance specified by the and we've talked about this before, the MBTA Communities Act is the loss of state funding, and the Attorney General cannot add additional enforcement mechanisms. This is the claim. We've talked about it. The act is very specific on not only the state being state grants or state funding, but very specific grants within that. And you know, it's a pretty definitive law in the way it's written in that regard. So that did stipulate that authority, or questioning that authority, as well as invalidity of the guidelines issued by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities to implement the MBTA Communities Act were not properly promulgated under Mass General Law, making them invalid. And the town argues that these guidelines should have followed formal rulemaking procedures, which they did not. And then also claim that the guidelines exceed the authority granted by the legislature to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, specifically that the minimum multifamily unit capacity requirement, other zoning mandates are not supported by the MBTA Communities Act language, and those impose unreasonable demands on municipalities. So then there's also some things that are very specific to Milton with regards to the Mattapan subway line, which sort of affects how Milton is ultimately affects them as their zoning obligations that are determined on the MBTA Communities Act, which is really specific and specifically relevant to the town of Milton itself. But ultimately, the takeaway is that the brief urges that the court dismiss the Attorney General's lawsuit and rule in favor of the town of Milton. I know it did share that with you when that came over. The town administrator for the town of Milton did share that with our group, and you know, him and I have had conversations around this, and there's not much more to share beyond that. You know, it's pretty laid out in that document, but they're continuing to litigate as expected, and you know, kind of where a lot of us around the Commonwealth are closely watching and kind of seeing where some of this plays out. But that's all I really had for specifics as of now. I know many communities are planning for their fall to meet that December 31st deadline. They are planning on moving warrant articles specific to the MBTA community zoning forward to their legislative bodies ultimately, and kind of see where some of those may end up this fall as well, which I think will also align us a little bit better. I talked about, you know, specifically kind of looking to see if anything comes out of the Milton, but I think we'll be able to see where other communities vote ultimately, because they'll probably will happen before December, you know, prior to us as well. So that's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Kevin? Select Board Member Anderson,
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Select Board Member Gallo.
I do, Mr. Chair, through you, Kevin, any indication, and I think I know the answer, but I'm just going to say it, but any indication on when the court might rule on what Milton just proposed?
No, they're kind of, they're still awaiting. Yeah, it's tough to say definitively.
And second, through you, Mr. Chair, second follow-up question, which I think I know the answer to, is our town council weighed in on the Milton rebuttal at all? Have you had a conversation with our town council about?
No, specifically not around asking them for a legal opinion, because that has other implications.
Right.
When the time comes, you know, we did discuss that and having them appropriately, but at this time, it wouldn't really be beneficial for us for them to draft a legal opinion that then could subsequently put us in a bind a little later on. So yeah, the answer is no, not directly. And there's been a lot of anecdotal kind of conversations around the merits of it. Yeah, I think we know the makeup of, you know, the Mass Supreme Court, and you know, where things kind of stand within the Commonwealth, and I don't know how that particularly will favor for the town of Milton, possibly potentially in a negative result for them, but I don't know. That's speculation.
Sure, which is, okay, that's it for now. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Select Board Member Harrington.
No questions at this time, Mr. Chair.
All right, Select Board Member Rouse.
No further questions at this time. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go to tab 13. Kevin, it's back on you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few brief updates. Good news stuff, that I, to share with you folks. So those that have been around a little bit longer knows that I've had this as a goal of mine, really since kind of coming into town almost 7 years ago. This was my seventh budget year. Proud to say seventh balanced budget. And we've made a lot of good things happen, and we've had to make a lot of adjustments, and but all positive things. One thing that I'm pleased to share, we're going to be doing a more formal press release probably tomorrow, is that the town was notified today that we have received the Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, which is something that the town of Wrentham has never received. There's a lot of, and this is, I get to share the information and led the direction here ultimately before our outstanding finance director, Mike King, coming on board. And I've been working towards getting towards here. Mike has brought us to that next level, as has the department heads, because I will say none of this is done in a silo. All of the effort that's gone into preparing an almost 200-page budget document for FY25 was specifically tasked to ask the department heads to do more work around justification, do more work around explanations to get us towards this goal of getting that distinguished budget award, which is it's not an easy feat. There's a lot of very specific details that need to go into that budget book. It's reviewed on, sort of a matrix that needs to be followed that isn't always applicable to Massachusetts and specifically to Wrentham, but you can see the amount of detail that's gone into this FY25 budget. And pleased to say that we've done this in the last 7 years. Has been a goal of mine since day one. We've talked about it. Those that have been around since day one know that that's been on my list. And really, we've taken it to that next level the last 3 years because there's for a number of reasons. But again, thank you to the finance team, to Mike King, finance director, town accountant Christine Dupras, as well as all of our department heads. This has been a team effort, and it's something that the community and something that the town officials should be proud of and happy to share. So we will do a formal press release with that information, and be a piece of thing that we'll be able to insert into our budget book. There's a formalized kind of look to it. That is, when you look around the country, when you look at municipal budgets that have received the Distinguished Budget Award, you'll see that recognition within the budget book, and it's a huge accomplishment. So I want to thank everybody involved, and I'm happy to share that with the board tonight. Jumping on the other great thing, I believe the entire board, if you have not received it, I'll make sure you do, but I believe the entire board was CC'd on this from the Department of Revenue, Division of Local Services. We received our notification of free cash approval, as well as our notification of retained earnings for the enterprise fund. This is the largest single free cash approval that the town of Wrentham has seen. If we take out last year's, if we take out the one-time sale of auctions, when you take out the Mara property as well as the other properties that were sold, which made up about 3.5 million of that free cash number. This just over $5 million certified general fund free cash appropriation is significant. It shows that we are we have been going in the right direction and are in the right direction to be able to financial stability, to be able to do a lot of these things that we've been doing. And that just shows that we've been diligent with managing our budget, department turnbacks. We've been diligent with dealing with issues as they come up. We have not tapped into our reserve fund transfer in 6 years, which is certainly not something that many communities can say. That's a turn back, as well as just prudent financial management. So that's another thing to tote our hat on. This is good stability. This is the things, as we talked about a couple of the things came up around the Public Works Building Committee. We're going to be asking the community to approve a lot, and we're going to be asking them. We just went through the Tri-County vocational school debt exclusion. We're all fully aware that we have the Roderick School MSBA reimbursement process that's playing out. We're going to be asking for the town, the residents, the taxpayers to fund that, and likely the Public Works building as we move forward and progress through this. I bring those up specifically because these are things when it comes to looking at our having our bond rating, and when we look at the financial stability of the town as we look at our bond rating, these are all healthy indicators that they're going to be looking at. A lot of the things that we did this past June at our annual town meeting, with continuing to put money away into stabilization accounts, our general as well as our capital stabilization, having these free cash, conservative revenue estimates, having this free cash number, are all sort of the big picture of the financial health and financial position of the town. That's only going to help us when we have these difficult conversations around future borrowing and things like that. So this is a good thing. It's a good thing to be talking about. And again, this is all a team effort, and this is all things that coming back to the financials of the town, working the finance team, and all the great work that everybody's doing to get us there. So a good thing. Water Enterprise Fund, very healthy. We're certified at 3.8 million. We've been doing a great job there. We also know when it comes to that, I just mentioned the potential purchase of land out in the west end of town. These are all things that are going to position us into a good place. We have a 5-year water master plan where we've been working diligently with our engineering team and working with Mass DEP closely to siting a potential new well in the next few years. All are important things back to how the enterprise fund is doing and running, and is in great shape. We're doing really well. So good things there. Couple of other things that I had with regards to the Public Works facility project. The Public Works subcommittee of the Public Works. So the Public Works Building Committee met. We had, I think, 7 OPMs that submitted. Firms that submitted for owner's project manager, OPM. We then formed a small subcommittee of that group, much like we did with the Roderick School, the elementary school building committee. We had a subgroup review, and those OPMs. We did bring in 3 OPMs, and we're going to have a follow-up meeting with the full committee soon. We'll ultimately be awarding and moving forward with an OPM that will represent us on the project, at least for the design phase, and ideally the way it was written is if there is future funding opportunities and the project moves forward, ultimately, ideally that OPM would stay from straight through to ribbon cutting. That would be the goal. So we don't, we can't commit to that because we don't have funding obviously for that at this stage, but that's the way it was written. And that's the intent, which is what we want. And we want to have that continuity. So we'll have that hopefully decision finalized and made soon on those 3 that were asked to come in for interviews. Couple other exciting things. We have a new website provider that's going live tomorrow. We'll be transitioning to a new website provider called Civic Plus, which is one of the largest local government website providers throughout the country. They'll now be hosting our website. You'll start to see some fresh face with new features starting tomorrow on that, and it's an opportunity to be able to provide more interactive features that'll be more ultimately more user-friendly and provide more to the residents. It's a mobile optimized design that provides for easier navigation, interactions with content from our desktop as well as a smartphone and tablet, updated agenda center that allows us for storing and sharing, searching of public meetings and agendas, as well as enabling citizens to remain informed and engaged in public policy and local issues. The meeting and events calendar allows folks to stay informed about the scheduling of important local events, including public meetings, classes, activities, community events, and other opportunities for just overall improved and enhanced community engagement. And I know, at least I've heard from Selectman Harrington, the desktop version on our current website, it's a big overhaul from what we originally had. But when you go to to a tablet or a phone, which is how most people interact nowadays with the website, it can be tough to find agendas because of the way you have to stroll through. And unless you're familiar with it, it's not very intuitive. What you'll find is that this website will be more user-friendly and interactive with the mobile versions to be able to locate, because the way we have it structured is you can see calendar of events, but you can't actually find the agenda. And I know in the past, at least a couple of you have even reached out to me. This isn't posted. I don't, where's the agenda? And when you're looking at it on the phone, it isn't really, because one of the things that it defaults to immediately is making a payment, which is great. That's what we want to be able to take in revenue. But if you don't know to slide left or right, you're not going to be able to easily navigate to those direct tabs that take you to the agenda or posted meetings and things like that. So I think you'll find that that'll be an improvement. Thank you to Amanda, especially. She's been the one that's really brought us to the next level when it comes to social media, when it's come to all the platforms now where those that are on social media or even LinkedIn are noticing much more proactive approaches to infographics that we're now putting out much more frequently and things like that. That's all driven by Amanda. And this website piece has been a lot of meetings and a lot of conversations, and as well as bringing in others to get us there. So thank you to her for that. And I think we certainly have made a lot of progress around that aspect with community engagement. Last update I had is just on the La Familia, which is also on your cover sheet. The establishment's currently in the process of getting fire engineering work completed. They installed a strobe light in the handicap bathroom, and they did not have a completed engineered stamp plan for fire protection equipment in the facility. So they're working through some of that. I believe at this point they've closed out their Board of Health permit process and the plan reviews and the need for that. So I think that might be on the fire protection, and then ultimately occupancy permit issued by the building commissioner. But it does seem like they're progressing and making progress. It's been painful, as you know. But that seems to be one of the benefits of having the new online permitting system is we can go in and see the stages of where things are at. We can also see the comments and reiterations. And I know particularly none of this has been a delay whatsoever on the town. And I just want to emphasize that our staff has bent over backwards, I would say, much more than any other, which we do a lot of times, and we work with business. This one has been particularly painful, which has been a struggle, and it has no reflection on any of the town staff. We've been going above and beyond to make this happen. And now with our new online permitting system, you can see the correspondences and the issues that still remain, which whether it be fire prevention or the building commissioner, whatever that might be, that communication within that system is fantastic, because there's no more he said, she said. Those communications happen within the system. The applicant gets notified of it, and it's on them. At the end of the day, it's the applicant's responsibility to meet the requirements, meet the regulations, and we guide them. We can, kind of get them there, but it's ultimately up to them. So hopefully we will see them open shortly. It's on them at that point to get the requirements done, and we're there to support them and see it happen. We hope to be able to welcome them as another establishment in town, and we'll see what happens. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Any questions from the town administrator?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just one, again, could be too preliminary. But I do, Kevin and Joe, possibly, I do recall ideas that were being floated around for this board to honor Deputy Chief Labonte. Has there been any more discussion, or is that still too preliminary to speak about at this time?
It is too preliminary. What I will say is the conversations are happening. So I hope that we can have Chief McGrath and us, back to the full board to kind of present something. I know a couple of things that have been discussed were more externally that are visible, which is a potential of the way out here, the driveway kind of from Randall up to South Street. Maybe naming that in some way, some recognition, some kind of potential plaque. There's been a number of things, and everybody wants, there's been there's been no shortage of ideas. Some of which, just aren't going to work, others that are being considered. But absolutely, that's a great point. And I actually met with the chief today on a number of things, as well as kind of a succession planning and sort of where things are headed for a number of reasons. But ultimately, that was also on our agenda to discuss. And I think we'll have something very shortly to be able to kind of bring back to the board and consider on the things that may need board approval.
Okay, thank you. I just hope we can do something special for Katie and the
Fully
kids.
agree. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Being done. Select Board Member Anderson, the meeting is yours.
Hey, Mr. Chair. Well, once again, I appreciate the opportunity to wrap up this meeting. So with your permission, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
Motion made by Select Board Member Anderson, seconded by Select Board Member Rouse. We'll do a roll call vote. Select Board Member Anderson,
Anderson's a yes.
Select Board Member Botash is a yes, Select Board Member Gallo,
Gallo, yes.
Select Board Member Harrington,
Harrington, yes.
and Select Board Member Rouse.
Rouse, yes.
So that was unanimous to adjourn. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you Saturday.
Thank you.
all.
Enjoy, everybody.